Hello and welcome as it is the 13th day of July 2019, although the date for this video isn't important. And it's one of those buy low, sell high videos this is another way of doing it. I've talked about my spreadsheet, or not my spreadsheet, but my the small basic program. This is another measure. You have TradingView. Even with a free account, this can be done. Although you might not be able to use I don't think you have the 8 hour time frame. You have to go 4 hour or daily. But the way I'm looking at this is I got Link and Ripple. Again, you need to have the second tier to be a pro account to be able to have this. However, even with the free account, look at coin crosses against Bitcoin, against Binance Coin, against Ethereum, and you'll be able to do the exact same sort of thing. And within the 8 hour time frame, my theory is if you check 3 times a day, every 8 hours, this is the type of results you're going to get. And in Europe, that would mean maybe, well, markets close at 12, so 12 o'clock, midnight, 8 a.m., and 4 p.m. Or 11, depend maybe a different time frame, 11, 7, and 3, and so on. In North America, it would be 8 p.m., 4 in the morning, and noon. But, or 2 o'clock, I thought. 4 in the morning plus 8, that's noon, yes. But whatever. The whole point is after every period in here, I'm going to take a look at the close and determine what am I going to do. Buy, sell. And I've gotten this data, so everything in here, I've already played from the start, right in here, all the way to where it stands right now. Now this thing is going to eventually, this thing is like 8 points right now. So it's going to go way up. And I'm not going to do every single day. But what I have already done is the following. I started this at 184. And then this is the direction in which the market goes. You're going to see that pretty much every single one of these moves is 10% or more. There might be some 8s or 9s in here. But this is a lot of trades in just that period of time. And this is going back to the genesis, the gold mine of trading. As right now, this is December 2017. So we're looking at October all the way to here. So volatility was very nice at this point. So amongst this, I'm going to be pushing this to do my bar replay. So on a day-by-day level, what would I do next? I would have just bought in here as the market went down to 43. So I'm looking for a significant move. I wait the next period. You do your calculation. You're not doing anything. You wait 8 hours later, it's down to 37. Okay, do I want to make a trade? Well, the difference from 37 to 44 almost is like, well, noticeably, like almost 20%. So yeah, you would make a trade in here. And we'll just go 366 because I'm going to do a little bit worse, or actually, no, 37 rather. I want to do a little bit worse on some of these because in reality, depending on how good of a trader you are, sometimes you get worse, sometimes you get better. If you're just taking quick price, you're probably always going to get a little worse, which is fine when you're doing this move. If you end up getting like 3709 or whatever, so 369 last trade, and now it's at 42. Was that worth trading? Well, the differential is 52 points, so we're over 50, over 10%. So you could pull off a little trade in here, and now we would continue on further. 52 next period. Well, that's a differential of, and you're saying, oh man, I wish I wouldn't have traded last turn. No, what? No, it's gonna, so what? It's gonna work. And now, if you know good information that's gonna go up and you want to play on it, then you know what? That can be, you can use that to help you out. Now at 57.9, is that a good enough gain? That's only 5.9. Yeah, maybe you want to look for a bit better. Maybe try to get that 65 number. When you got alerts in, maybe your alert hit at 63 and you're able to sell it then. And now you just wait. There we are. So 61 is that's a bit better. That's a differential of like 9 basis points, and it most certainly is well over 10%. So you can make a trade at 61.1. Continuing further, let's go in here. 54. Is that even worth trading? Well, what's the mathematical differential there? What's 611 minus 545? That's like 66 points. You're barely over 10%. So maybe you're saying just try to go for a better move. You'll take any decent down move. Was that decent enough for you at 52? It's the video game. That's part of this game. You got the question. It's like a game show host saying, "Do you want to take your money or do you want to go to the next level?" kind of deal. And really, what that means is, if you go to the next level and we have a down move, you get a better price. But if it goes back up, your trade is off the table. Oh, let's just play the game. I want to press my luck. I want to wait another day. Well, it's pretty much the same. What do you want to do? We're giving you the same offer. It's like deal or no deal. Deal or no deal, the game show. Now we got 59. You're like, oh, it's 18 lows. I might hit it. Let's wait another day. There we go. I'm taking it, 47.7. So that's ways in which you can play the game. And there we got a little bit better volatility. We could have taken a little better than a 10% move. Instead, 611 minus, let's just even go 481, we'll say, just because you're going to get worse prices oftentimes. And in that, the differential is, well, 130, it looks like, on 480. So about 30%. So now you got 480 as last trade, and we need something noticeably different. 450 not low enough, same price. Now do you want to take 42.16? The differential there is like, we'll say 42, you're looking at 60 points. We'll take it. And then we continue on. Next day, 44.8, not up enough though. Back to pretty much where it was before. Next day, okay, we got a little under 40. But that's not much of a move, so I want better than that. 36, is that enough for you? We're now near previous 2 times hit low. The differential is like, well, 60 basis points on 36, so we're looking at almost 20%. We'll go 365 and continue on to the next one. Oh, 40. Right off the bat, you want to take a move of like 10%? Maybe you can get a play that gets the 18 average of highs. Well, the next day doesn't do it. You could have sold and bought right back. Not there for you. Then it goes down further to 31.9. Even 32. The differential there is like, well, 45 basis points, so we're looking at about 15%. And then here, well, don't know why it did that. Now, of course, if you knew it was going to go down further, you're not going to buy here at the 25 handle. But when the last trade was 32 and you're looking at 25, you might as well make the trade. And then next day, if I push on auto, there we go, that fixed it. It's at like 19.3. We'll go like 19.8. And the next day, or only the next 4-hour period, barely a gain. And a nice gain. Definitely going to sell that. When you go from this low to that high, December 30th right now is where we stand. And these markets are going up in price, that what's going to happen is the value of these are going to be so magnificent that you're really going to be pulling both Ripple and Link off the table with a lot of these as we head into January, because a lot of them are going to be making fantastic highs against both Bitcoin and the dollar with almost every crossing. So now we're looking again, do we have a decent gain from this high? Right now we've got 3 pause periods barely going up, no trade, 33.6. That's probably good enough. And well, the differential there is about 4 basis points on 30. It's not the greatest of moves. And again, you could be like, oh, do I want to make a trade? Let's just see. Did press your luck? Was this a smart play based on where we go from here? Should we have pressed our luck? We would have a bit better there and a bit better there and about the same, and back down to 31, back down to 30, now at 27. That's definitely in the buy area. We'll go 279, a little worse. Continue on. It's even a bit lower. Could have got a better deal if we would have waited, and even a bit better. Do I want to even add more at 25? Well, the differential is barely over 10, so let's just press our luck, wait for a better price maybe. It's the same. Well, should have bought, I guess. Can we even sell now at 33? Well, I would say so. I mean, that's where we sold before. It would have been nicer to buy, but you know what? That's going to happen. Sometimes you're going to miss out on a buy, and you're still going to get a sell like that. It's just it would have been nicer if you could have got a buy before it happened. Bit higher, much higher, 41.7. That's another sell spot. And we'll go 41.5, a little bit below. And then down to 37.8. Can you just buy that on that small move? Well, the differential takes you 22 basis points to 400 plus 15 is like 37. So you're looking at 10%. So you don't really, maybe you don't want to buy it. It's a little bit better. Yeah, didn't get it there. Now you're just going sideways choppy. That's a bullish pattern right there. We'll see if it breaks through. I mean, it looks like this is just a spot where you're like, yeah, even here. This is an interesting spot if you have to ratio trade here, because what do? Your technical analysis says that this is probably have a nice breakout coming forward. Where we should at least test in the to that 6 or 8 handle number, or up towards here. Now the number says not to trade anyway from 41 to 45, but I would think here, if the ratio numbers say trade this cross, maybe your last sell was like a 30, whatever, down in here, and the numbers tell you to trade. It's an interesting decision here to think, this could break out. Let's see what happens here. A little bit higher, 49. Mathematically here, let's just, I'm going to assume that you're like, I'm going to pass on this. I could take a 49 trade because that's like close to 20%, but I think I could do much better because the market looks like it's going to break out. Beautiful pause period. There we go. So now I get a bit better of a deal. And I could even try to go for a bit more of a weight, but it is starting to barely become overextended. But the differential here would have been like 16 basis points. And even if you took the 48, 49, then the 57, so be it. You're still going to end up profiting on the long term when you do it this way. And then we have a little bit of retracement, sideways action, further up move, even further, like we stated, that pattern before looked very bullish, and we can see how it ended up moving up forward. And again, you could use this to try to predict up and down movements, go back in time and think, oh, this looks bullish and bearish, and you can see the results, especially if you got ratios or codes you've never really seen before. And it can work out well. Let's go 65 here and continue on further. I'm going to do this for a little bit more. Okay, so now you got a buyback. Let's go 52.1. The next day or the next period, a little bit lower, 49, 54. We were last in at 52. So we need exitation of this 18 most certainly. And that's an attempt to exit the 18. So this forward momentum would be dying. And still in this neutral, so the forward momentum is dead. There's definitely no down momentum. You can see all the sideways in here are just stuck in this 18. And this is a spot where you got your trade in here on January the 11th, and here you're sitting on January the 16th, and you still haven't done any trades. Now we get exitation. Does exitation make a trade here? 63, we most certainly can. But maybe you're in this spot again. We're like, okay, I think it's going to break out. I'm only getting about close to a 20% flip here. Okay, I could have got the trade. It went down, and now you're like, maybe I could have bought it back. It definitely could have bought it back. So there's missing out on a trade because you were trying to get better here at the high. You were there at that point. Ended up getting a failed breakout. And with your last trade at 52 down to 47, you're only looking at a little over 10% of a buy, so it's not even worth buying in here. It's still trying to break out of the lower end. It did so here, now again. This would be the third time. And it pauses it back into the neutrality middle part. So all of this sideways consolidation that these markets get, now we get another attempt for this to break out of this upward range. And look what happens. There's that move. So now, of course, it's an obvious sell spot. We'll go 795. Volatility is big, so as I was mentioning before, a move to go up to these higher spots is looking what it's going. This is like inverse head and shoulders breakout S-like in that spot. So the pattern for this to have even further gains would look pretty good. Now, do you want to do a buyback at 68? Especially if you're bullish on this, you do even want to do more so. So as long as the math tells you it's a buy, and the differential is like 11 basis points on 68, so that's very close to 20%. So we'll go 684, and then continue on. Could have got a better price. That's very common for me. A lot of times I'm like, oh, I should wait. And well, obviously on this one here, the waiting didn't work, but sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. And now it goes down further, 59.8, 60, 58. You're still 10%. You know what? Yeah, I think you'd have to. Differential is like 10 basis points on it. That's like what's the differential on 10 on 58? Well, 5.8 is 10%, which means 11.6 would be 20. So you're closer to 20 than 10. But at 58.2 at last trade, it's sideways, staying in this band. And look at this volatility in here. It's just nothing. It's trying a lot of indecision, grinding its way lower. Does it continue? No, it keeps that low. I don't know what's going on movement here. Like this, right from here, right from this January 22nd. How does it react from this move? Well, a lot of times they'll do like this for a short period of time, but this all started on January 22nd, and now it's January 26th, and it's just not changing. It's still doing the same there. Okay, little statement. Attempt to break this thing higher after going sideways in here. As far as the ratios are concerned, at 65, you're barely over 10%, like 13. So you give it another day, and you pretty much have the same. You wait another day, a bit better. And it's now a nice little bullish setup because it's holding this really nice. Okay, now we'll see if it corrects it successfully. Two large candles, at least compared to this. Back to this little area, so failed possible breakout. And then there's the weakness signal, a lot of cautionary moves. We're still, and that's another repeat of this volatility, but at that lower area. More continuation of low volatility, and oh my goodness, this volatility is going small. 54.6. Still not in a buy zone with 58 at last trade. Now at 51. Barely a little over 10%. 54. And this continuation of this sideways movement. Just low volatile period after period. There's 50. Getting there. And it's picking up, but even these moves are small. And that's part of what happens when you play this ratio. In any market, it doesn't, for the most part, any market, yeah. You're going to have periods where it just gets so dry, as another term in calling it. This would be one of them. As we wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And look, this is just incredible how you see this just doing nothing. For it went into this band here after this failed breakout. On January the 22nd, you'd be looking at this on February the 3rd. Almost 2 weeks of on, like nothing going on. And I just did that. But to get the idea of where we came from and what's going on now. This is going back, like, here's a little wick here, but all of these little moves can be taken advantage of. And you can see all what you'd be able to accumulate. This would be a lot of selling of Chainlink because it's been going from this April low of, like, in this case, 1.5, now at 9.6. And now you got all of this sideways range here. What's the technical analysis say this is going to happen here? It looks like Link is going to have another leg higher. Well, let's just take a look at Link against some sort of random code that I'm going to have to think about. Um, How about theta? I mean, pretty decent. Not as nice of the sideways pattern right now here within this 28, but still looking like it's attempting to break out to retest previous high. And when I see a pattern like this, I'm saying, okay, there's the down move. Now we have it just going sideways amongst here. Really, the first attempt to break out. It could be a failed breakout, but I would think it would at least come to around 32, with the big test up to about 36, if it's able to do it. Now, as far as its volatility is concerned, when you look at some of these moves that occur, it's even on a daily level, 12 down to 6. What's most certain is you're going to be selling up here and getting a little bit of buyback. And even on the intraday level, you got to ask yourself the question, are you able to buy here and sell here? We'll assume you're once a day looker. You come at like 7, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And if you came on May the 25th at this time, you would have been like, oh, this is down to what's the close here? 8.12, $8.12 or cents, whatever, 8.12. After the day before, it was 11.26. So how do you not buy that? The differential is just too good. You're looking at like well over 30%. And then obviously this move here looks like not too sellable because if you trade at day 12 and the next period's 866, then that means it's like not even 10%. But this one here is 961. So that's a differential of about a buck 40 or 1.4 on 8. You need about 160, 170 to make 20%. So we're looking again at a 17, 18% push up here. Okay, I'll make a trade. And then this day here on May the 29th, after trading 8 and 2/3, this one closes at 7 and 4/5, or a down move of like 1 and 2/3 plus another two, 2 basis points almost, 1.8. And 1.8 on 7.8, we need about 1.5 for 20%. So we're looking at about 22, 23% volatility here. And then the grinding its way lower. If you bought, say, at 787, well, this low came down to 691, which isn't that great of a move, really. It's a little over 10%. So if you bought this, it makes it easier to sell up here. If you didn't, and you were waiting for a better price, then you missed out on an opportunity, at least until June the 13th came. Because that's when you had that nice up move from here up to here. But we look at even situations like this in here. These little failed breakdowns can become so profitable. For if it's going to have a session here where you were at 339 and the period before 360, then next thing you know, it's down to 260. Well, 100. Well, if it goes from 360 to 260, the differential is like 100 basis points. And 26 times 4 is a little over 100. So that's a little under 40% of a move. And then to have these two moves day after day, 2 days in a row you sell, but it's a trade back. Because if you see 261 and the next day is 306, well, that's like 16, 17%. Well, it says 17% up day. And then 20% the next day. I can just see it up here for a move anyway. That's good enough for me. All of these down moves represented everything you sold up here. And then along the way, 850 down to 730. Just a small buyback, maybe a buyback here. And it's only a buyback if you sold in here. Because if you sold, say, but technically speaking, you should. Because if you're checking at 8 o'clock, now there's the lack of lines on the daily time frame, which is interesting. But as long as these are the closes from that time frame, that's all that would be important. Because really for stuff like this, even though the low came down to 250, you had to be there. Maybe you needed to buy or a sell order in one of the coins in order to get it. So oftentimes those numbers are just unlikely to get, or at least it's more likely for people who are always at the computer, getting alerts, having that stuff. They're the ones that are going to get those plays more often. But as it goes, when you see moves like this, and it was 6.5 almost the day before, and then you log in and then you see it's like 3.5, 3.6. So a differential of like 2.8 down on 640. So now we're in the 30, 40%, close to 40% realm for volatility. That's just a magnificent flip that can come into play. And then what you buy in here is just going to get sold, as we can see, over the next month or so, over the month of January. What are we on? Daily time frame? Yeah, so this happens November 30th. Yeah, that's that big day that occurred. So everything here for the whole month of December is just getting it back. And then, of course, in here you can see you sell, and then you would like buy in here. So in this case, when you're selling, you would have been selling link for theta, which would have been nice for this, of course, trade down in here. And then the other part of the ratios is stuff like we see in here, taking advantage of this, taking advantage of this move. Even if you can't take advantage of this, most certainly taking advantage of this. Because lots of opportunities to buy in here, which then, of course, allows you to sell. But when this low is in at 102 and this high is in at 140, you can see how you can play around within that sort of volatility. Now, I'm not trading these two together, and I'm not, even though the people have been mentioning Link on this channel, and they have been dead right, big time right with the play on Chainlink, that the fees of getting them off the exchange are quite high. So that's why I would prefer not to trade this pairing. But a lot of times, whichever ones you choose, and if you go with some of those wacky Bittrex ones that happened in 2017, you could just get some tremendous moves. Let's just take a look at this one here. So Mona and GRS, we can just see in here like big move up from like 843 to like 2 on the weekly chart. Like, look at these up and down moves. This is what I'm talking about for taking advantage of this situation in here. Because a lot of them are going to allow you to go like this, up to here, down to here, but definitely into this area here. Taking advantage of all of those up and down moves that occur, and then organically waiting for these types of days to occur. Or weeks in this case, but that is just how I look at this. There's just more movement for it. And it's trading as Bitcoin again is fine. But one of the reasons I like trading outside of the fact that, okay, the wallets are much cheaper to take off these other coins. Ones that cost pennies or nothing practically are the ones that make it easy to go back and forth off and on from exchanges, or lots of deposits and withdrawals as a net situation. But when these prices are large against Bitcoin, Mona and GRS together, like back in 2017 in here when all of this was going on, this was a perfect opportunity at this juncture here with the high volume coming in. Well, actually towards in here to sell these coins because Bitcoin prices were getting phenomenally high and the altcoins were running. You can't see it here, but these coins were probably going very big in here. But while all the other stuff is going on, you're just playing the mathematical numbers on this. It's a matter of division, and that's why it's looking towards this. It's not like back in here there's anyone saying, oh, by the way, there's a major possible failed breakout on the Mona GRS cross, or breakdown, depending on which side you divide it from. And then they would have been right, because look at the move that happened after this failed breakdown. But look at the ratio trading, 37 down to 1, back up to 7, and that's where it stands. And even before then, we're talking about going from 500 down to 2, that failed breakout to 41. And all of those up and down moves. Interesting how all of this looks in here, starting in this point. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. Just a quick look at more about this. Again, just taking whatever, like as far as what's available for free, say you're like, okay, let's just take a look at Mona BTC period. As you can see in 2018, if you were trading on the daily time frame just every single day, well, in this period here, if all you do is just wait for a day, this day here, it's like sick. You go from 12,000 up to 21,000, so you unload a whole SHIT amount of them. And if you unloaded them all, I mean, whether you bought back in here and sold some, but if you waited, you got your buyback at excellent prices. Same thing here. Now, if you sold everything at 24, just something to keep in mind, you're now barely into the profits. So that's one of the things of noting, that if you sell too early, you're going to get profits, but a lack of what you could get based on the fact that what you have here. and your buybacks won't be as good as if you sold in here. And then there was a possibility maybe of getting up in here, but we'll throw that part aside. But how often does this come into play? Here it does. 3 consecutive days. And if you're just scalping bits and pieces off, we have a 14% up day, a 31, an 18. Lots of profitability. There's one of those up and down shape formations here where it goes from 21,000 Satoshi down to 16, back up to 21. And if you have a sell order here, it all works out. But there's another one of these days. This is a 74% up day. So you could trade a whole whack of your Mona coin here, and you can see it's going to be bought and back. If you sold on this day, you can see you got it back. Anything you sold here, you got back. Everything you sold here, well, you would have got it back. And when you get it back, you're getting it back with profit. Everything you sold up here, buy back. Back in here, well, same thing. But before this is when we had an amazing run. So as I mentioned in 27, like this was just a phenomenal spot when you go from 10,000 up to 100,000. So in spots like this, if you're ratio trading Mona with whatever, you're probably selling a lot of Mona for that other coin, because if that other coin is going up at that same rate, like, oh my goodness, wow. And if it is, you'll just sell both of them against Bitcoin. There's no other choice you'd have. But when it gets to this level, you just have to say to yourself, okay, this is up way too high. You start selling maybe at 51 and anyway up to the 100 number, because, I mean, 51's a 5x move from down in here. So maybe that's the minimum thing you're looking for. So if you end up selling, we'll say for an average of, say, 63,000, well, you're able to buy it back here, but obviously, as we can see in time, sometimes you're going to have to wait if you I don't know why it did that. Yeah, so say you're selling at 63. So you might have to wait. If you're looking to buy for well better than half off, well, what's well better than half off on 63? Like what, 24, 25? So if you're waiting for 24 or 25, you would have had to wait all the way to August of 2018, and you could have got better prices, you could see. But as it would go, selling up here, and then of course the buyback would come 10 months later, you'd be getting like a 60 whatever percent drop in price. And then if you were selling, say at 37,000, well, there's some buybacks at amazing discounts that did happen here. And if you sold, say, at like 18,000, well, that hasn't bought back yet. But you get the idea that just take advantage of all the swings. If a move like this is a failed breakout and you got sales in, then it works. If it's not a failed breakout, which will, and it, get with like this here, it's not a failed breakout. Okay, well, we'll sell some more here and get some buybacks. And then sell some here, get some buybacks. We'll ignore this lower move above it. Huge move here. Now, back in this point, 7,800, 78,000, 10x move. If you were ratio trading again back in January 2015, and something like this happens, you've already accumulated a lot of coins down in here. You're not going to have as many up here, but you'll even reduce as many as you own because of the overextension. And you say to yourself, well, what kind of gate am I looking for? 7x, 5x, 8x, 10x? And if you're looking for 5 at 8, then you're looking for 40 handle. And you can see if you picked away at the top here, well, if you're looking for half off, you could have sold 40 and got back down to 20. Oh, do I want to do it again? Well, probably would in here. And as you can see, there was an opportunity to get some buying back. And if this wasn't good enough for you from selling up here, realize you would have been selling this in March of 2015. And if you're looking for like, say, 20 or like 24 even, at 24, and you didn't get this 24, we'll say, but you'd be waiting all the way to like October of 2015. That would have been, well, it's not too long. It would have been March to October, so 10 minus 3, 7 months. And then all of these. So if you were selling, say at say 16,000, looking to go to like 7,000, and you missed this, you can see it's like May 2016 in here, and this was like January 2015. So there's a spot where almost a year and a half later you get your buyback. And when your funds are in your wallets, no, so be it. But what it does is, when you get in a situation where coins are in bear markets, you give yourself the funds to be able to buy. So when situations like this occurs and it looks really shitty, basically, so your portfolio is getting hurt, and even though you're getting buybacks at cheap prices, it's again, it's going down. It's going to go back up in here, of course, massively. But you're just only hoping, maybe expecting it to happen, and you don't, and you can be here. You're like September 26th. You can be. It's going to happen. A dartboard big rally is going to happen, and you'd be right, but it would take a decent a bit longer of a time. So be it, kind of deal. But when this happens down in here and you hit these lows, you're like, man, I wish I could buy more, or I want to buy more. Well, it makes it easy to buy more when you've had sold from back in here at 12,000. You're waiting for well better than half, well lower than 6,000. So this is where well lower than 6,000 comes in. You're like, oh, 4,500. Yeah, I think I'm going to do it there. And you're still much lower than where the 2,100 was it? But even still, if you're like, oh my god, I'm just going to go all. When I say all in, I'm going all in here at 35, 3,800. I mean, everything that you sold, all your sell orders are filled. Every single buyback is in place because, as I would look at it in here, if the last place you would have bought back in 2015 was 7,400 ratio, then I guess Bitcoin, then maybe you sold at like say 11, 12,000, 10,000. Well, that would have been the lowest sell order you had, and now you got the buy order say at 37. So even though it went to 26, you missed it, but when it goes higher, well, it worked out for you. And then all of those moves that can take place. When it goes from 31 down to below 10, that's better than a 3x move. And then up to, obviously, those moves are just monstrous. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day. Bye bye.